Hello, everyone. On behalf of FinStreet and WNCC, we would like you to welcome all to this developers meet. Today, blockchain is the core technology used to create cryptocurrencies and, in general, acts as a publicly distributed ledger. It has been considered as a part of the fourth industrial revolution since steam engines, electricity, and information technology. But you must always wonder what blockchain is or how does it work. To explain or answer these questions, I would like to introduce our speakers for today, Mr. Vinayak Kalra, who's the founder of Quad BTech and Chief Technology Officer at FinStreet, and Ms. Muskan Kalra, who's the lead developer relations at Polygon. So now I would like to invite Mr. Vinayak Kalra to take us through his presentation.
Thank you, Sarthak. And I believe it was, a really good introduction as to what blockchain exactly is, right? And what I believe is because, this actually has brought, a revolutionized industry in IT sector right now because as we go through a lot of, as we go through recession right now, a lot of IT companies are actually, they're not really hiring, right? But this is a space that is actually hiring, and it has actually increased their hiring since the COVID hit, right? So there is a void that has been created. Now this is what we'll try and address to everyone, each and every one of you here today, right? And yeah, so this is what the agenda of the call would be. Hi Muskan, would you maybe like to share something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing. I think you can start with the
Okay.
presentation and then I'll just continue in between. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Do let me know, all right, if you have some
Yeah, yeah,
points, right? And then
yeah,
maybe we can take
definitely.
care of things right there. Okay, great,
Definitely.
great. So what we can do is, what we'll try to do is we'll try to keep the session as interactive as possible, right? So that you guys don't sleep, first of all, right? And for everybody right now, switch on your cameras. Just let's be proactive, right? Switch on your cameras. I want to see some happy faces around there. Right now I don't even know that if I joke, did anybody laugh or not, right? Please switch on your cameras. I understand that a lot of you might be at your homes as well, might be at a comfortable space. It's all right, right? But definitely like to see some faces here first. Yeah, it's too much for me as well, considering that there is no face. So please, some videos ahead, right? Come on, guys. I am talking to like the smartest people that there are, right? So I believe that everybody would be a smiling face right now. Everybody would like to understand what this is. Now I can only help you guys if you guys help me here, right? Let's try and keep this session interactive as possible, right? So I still do not see any videos being turned on. Is it that all the webinars are like that you guys attend? Guys, come on. All right, I'll give you guys some time as to think about it, that if you want to do that or not, right? Let's start with a quick question then, right? So how many of you guys have heard about blockchain? A yes or a no in the chat box, please. Let's see if now this is to make sure that you guys are there. Okay, so a lot of people. So everybody is interested to know about it, but yet nobody wants to switch on their cameras. I wonder why. All right, yes, with Bitcoin. Okay, not that, but okay. Great response. Great response. This is what I want. Now, if this response is there, I'll definitely be able to clear everything that is there, because I've seen the submissions, right? The people that have told, like, there are huge questions around the space, right? So a lot of people have heard about it. Great. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to cater to each and every question that you have today, as well as try to make sure that uh, you know today, maybe tomorrow, you try and get started with blockchain development itself. So we'll try to clear the air as to what exactly it is and how you need to get started. So be attentive. This is the hot topic right now, right? And what I believe is, all of you might have searched what is the average salary of a blockchain developer, every such thing, and you must have seen the numbers that there are, and those are huge. Like, even if you go to internet today and see that what exactly is being offered to a blockchain developer, you'll see that it ranges from 5 lakhs per annum to 50 lakhs per annum for Indian developers, right? And there is so void created around the blockchain developers as such, right? So before we move ahead with blockchain and the technicalities of it, right, one more question: has anybody of you ever developed on a blockchain? Maybe tried? Okay, even no's are welcome, please. No's are also welcome. Okay, let me try and create a culture then. Okay. We'll try and see as to how this no could be converted to a yes, right? So stay with me, and I'll try. Okay, develop some smart contracts right there. Shivam Raj, great. So there is one. Now for you as well, what we'll try to do is that maybe try to put onto some insights as to how you can grow yourself more into the space, right? But it would be for your teammates, like for all your batchmates, right? So that their no could actually be converted to a yes, right? So let's start by discussing as to what we'll try to complete in this lecture, right? So yeah. So what we'll try is that we'll try to explain as to how a blockchain actually function, right? And some usages around blockchain, and what are the basic building blocks of Ethereum. And why Ethereum? Because it's one of the oldest that we have, as well as for developers, it's actually quite good. Because Ethereum has provided an infrastructure for developers themselves as to come and onboard and start developing applications on a blockchain, right? We'll come to it when we'll discuss it, right? And how as a developer can you get started. So first of all, let's clear the buzz around what exactly is a blockchain, right? And let's have a quick demo for it, right now. This is how a blockchain will look like if you actually have a pictorial representation of a blockchain, right? And like, as the name suggests, it's simply a chain of a block, chain of blocks, right? One more quick question before we move ahead, so that I understand that what kind of audience I'm dealing with. Has anybody of you like developed something like maybe mobile app, maybe a website, or maybe a web app, something like that? A quick yes and a no, please. I believe I'm dealing with a very good audience. Okay, so it's mostly 50-50. I see that it's a yes or a no. Okay, lot. This is an enthusiasm that I'm talking about. Right? You guys are actually developers, right? Definitely. Really nice. So that no, what I'll try to do is that I'll try to make sure that it's also a yes, right? By the end of this lecture. Okay. So now for everyone around you that have actually developed something on maybe mobile app or a web app can actually compare this with a database, right? Or even if they have not, they know what a database is. I think most of you must have heard about what exactly is a database, right? Because it's mostly in your curriculum as well. So just think about blockchain as a database, as a way of storing a data, right? It's just a quite unique way of storing a data. All of these blocks, they don't have anything but data, right? And they are linked with each other, right? The first block is being linked with the second is linked with the third, and third is linked with the fourth, and so on and so forth, right? You can think of this as linked list. I believe every one of you might know the concepts around linked list. So what happens in a linked list is you basically feed some information of the first to the second, so that you can actually you map the first address with the second one, and then second to the third, and then and so on and so forth. So if you want some data out of maybe second block, you'll have to transverse through it, right? But it's not the case here though, right? It's a bit different from linked list, right? But you can compare it right now visually to a linked list. All right.
Sorry to interrupt you in between. Could you just make it this full screen? Like, I think there's
Sure,
able to see it. Yeah.
sure. Actually, I was moving on to the demo, so that's why I was, reluctant to do that here. For sure. Yeah, this one, this is the this is how it looks like, right? So what we can do is we can talk about some of the qualities, like why are we using blockchain, right? Why have we shifted from MySQL databases or Postgres databases, and how these databases cannot really help us around the blockchain itself, right? Or what are the solutions that are being provided by the blockchain, right? Why is it specific? Why is it so essential? Or why has it become so essential, right? So there are two fundamentals around blockchain itself. Like one of them is security. The second one is decentralization, right? The data in a blockchain has security because of hashing. I will discuss hashing in the next slide, right? And the second thing that we have is decentralization. Decentralization of data, right? These are two fundamentals that I'll try to clear now, right, around blockchain. Now, these are two major use cases of a blockchain that makes it usable in a lot of financial instruments, right? So we'll discuss about this in the next slide. So let me maybe, yeah. So how, what exactly would be security, right? To understand security, we must try and understand what exactly is hash, right? Could we again have a quick yes and a no as to how many of you know, how many of you know that what exactly is a hash? Okay, there are some no's, so I'll try to clear it for the no's as well, right? Great, great, great. The response is great. Everybody's listening. Very nice. Great. Great college, I must say. Again, you guys don't have to prove that to me. Uh, Now, what exactly is a hash? So, in a hash, what happens is when you feed some data into it, right? It is actually cryptographically encrypted, and a hash is being generated. So now this is a hash of an empty data, right? So this hash, whenever I feed some data, it will always be the it will change on as per I'm entering the data. The hash will keep on changing, but the digits will remain the same. Now right now this is SHA-256 hash, right? So these are 32 characters here. I believe, yeah, 32 characters here, right? And whenever you feed a data, hash has been generated, right? Now you can feed data, generate and hash, that is good, but you cannot really reverse back. You cannot really get data out of a hash. It will actually take a lot of computing power to do that, right? So this cryptography and all of these things, like all these hashes, it actually came into play a lot earlier. It was during World War II that their examples uh, came to picture, right? The cryptography and the uses of cryptography, it came to picture during World War II, and then after that, it took a lot of shapes. Right now, even in blockchain, this lays as the fundamental of security. So what happens is that you can feed the data, hash is converted, and it could not be reversed, right? So if you have a hash, right, and the data then fed to it would remain the same, right? Now, how this is actually used in a block, right? So when you change the data, the hash of the block actually changes, right? So what happens is if you have mined this block, now this block has been linked with another block, right? If this is the first block that we have, if we have second, if we have third, if we have fourth, right? So what will happen is that if I come back and if I change the data that is there in the first block, right? So what will happen is something like this, maybe. All of the blocks, they will have to be changed, right? Because this data changes the hash that is there, right? Now, why this hash is important? Again, in a blockchain, what happens is that this particular hash has been fed to the second block, and then the hash of this particular block has been fed to the next block, and this is how blocks are linked. They are linked via hashes, right? So this is why if I go back, change some data in one block, right, and what will happen is the whole chain will get invalidated, or it will break. So practically it is not really possible to go and change the data, because what will happen is it will invalidate the whole blockchain. So this is how security of hashes come into play when we talk about blockchain, right? Now let's talk about a block a bit, right? This was the use case of hash, right? One of the use cases of hash. There are a lot, right? So whenever you'll go towards blockchain development, you'll see that a lot of cryptographical features are being used there. You don't really need knowledge of cryptography. Let me assure you here, you don't really need knowledge of cryptography to proceed here, right? You just need to know what exactly is a hash. That's it. Not you don't really need to go deep into cryptography as such, right, to understand what exactly is a blockchain. Or for that matter, the prerequisites are not a lot, You'll see by the end of this lecture that any one of you can go ahead, build some smart contracts, right? Any one of you. So this is what I'm trying to do here. This is what we'll try to do here. We'll try to remove the stigma that is around the whole blockchain space, right? So this is what a block actually looks like. Now this is what a block height is. Like this is first block. So block height is 1. The second block will have block height 2. Then the third will have 3, and so on and so forth. This is nonce again. So what exactly is nonce? Miners, when they mine a block into the blockchain, right? They have to validate the block and then insert it into the blockchain. So at that particular time, what they have to do is they have to guess this nonce value, right? So this is what I'll speak about mining in this lecture. In itself, mining is altogether a very different lecture, right? And this is what I'm doing because I want to tell you that there are a lot of variables of a block. Now these are only few that we are watching. There are actually a lot of variables of a block, right? When you go deep into it, then you'll understand like how much things are actually there when a block is being addressed, right? And then of course what a block will store is data, right? And this data could actually be anything. This data could actually be words. This data could actually be transactions. When it comes to Bitcoin, or when it comes to cryptocurrencies, this data is transactions, right? And this data could also be code. When it comes to Ethereum, this data is actually there are transactions in Ethereum as well. And there are codes as well that are deployed on the Ethereum chain, right? That is why we'll try and focus on maybe Ethereum chain, or for that matter, chains that are alike, so that you can understand as to how these smart contracts and all those things are actually working, how a code is actually working on a chain in itself, right? That is actually beautiful to see, that you are storing a code somewhere and it is getting executed. You have inputs, you have outputs, right? And that too on a system such as the blockchain, which is secure and decentralized, right? I believe I have told you about security. I have not told you about decentralization, as to how a chain is actually decentralized, right? So when it comes to decentralization, think about your databases, right? Right now, if you have created a website, you have a database stored at one particular location, right? And so what will happen if you have the data stored in a lot of places, right? In a lot of areas, right? What you can say is, consider a Node.js system, right? Or node system, where you have data in a lot of different places, right? And all of those areas are actually synced together with each other, right? So this is how a decentralized is achieved in blockchain. So all the nodes, they run the same data and they keep themselves in a sync, right? This is actually possible with blockchain in itself, that a structure that is decentralized and not centralized. Centralized structure, if I talk about banks here, right? Banks actually have a centralized structure. They have databases of their own, right? If I go ahead, if I have like maybe 10,000 rupees in my account, if I go ahead, make it 5,000 in the database, I can go ahead, change the data in the database, and then the value will be reduced to 5,000. I'll be short 5,000, without even spending that money, right? So this is what a centralized database structure looks like. But in a decentralized database, what happens is that not a central authority is in charge. All the nodes that there are running the chain and are kept in sync. So if I want to go back into a block and change the transaction, maybe here, right? And in that particular case, what will happen is that all the data ahead of the block will get invalidated. I have to mine all the blocks again, right? So this is what uh, will take a lot of computing power, which and practically is not possible for you or me to go ahead and change a data in the blockchain, right? Because you need to mine all the blocks again then, right? So, and mining takes power, mining takes work. So this is how things are along when it comes to decentralization of a blockchain. I hope I have been clear till this point. Can we have a quick yes or a no? Okay, so there are some questions as well. Okay, let me uh, guys, if I forget to address some of the questions because I'm delivering a lecture, so what I can do best is I can maybe take questions at the end as well, right? Right now I have seen some questions, so I can maybe take some questions here. Does hash simply employ something like address of the data? Address of the data, then it's actually no, it's not really address of the data, right? The hash is actually, what you can say is, if you can imagine Harshvardhan, right? If you can imagine data, it's actually an input in a function, right? And it's not the address of the data that where it is stored or something like that. It's not, it's nothing like that. It is actually the data itself that is cryptographically sent through a function, right? And this is these functions are actually known as, these are one-way functions, so you can actually input them, get an output, but that output cannot really be reversed. So this is how the whole cryptography is actually based on these things, right? When you feed the data, an output is generated. So if you want to compare data, like if you want to compare that, the data that you have entered is actually correct, so what will happen is, what you need to do is you need to feed the same data to the same function, and then the hash generated will be same. So this is how comparison in cryptography takes place, not the other way around. You cannot really, take the hash and then get the data out of it, right? So it's not really addressed, but on the other end, it's more like, the data itself that is converted to some string, some encryption that you can say, right? Is SHA 256 different for different cryptocurrencies? SHA 256 won't be different for different. SHA 256 is again, it's a function. If you feed a data to it, it will have a fixed value that you can get out of it. Maybe what I can do is I can show it to you here. So if I come to this page again, right, the data, if it is empty, the hash that you will see is always the same. This is the feature of hashing, right? So if I have hello world here, I'll have the same hash that was generated before when I wrote this. Hashes won't change for data, right? So it's not exactly, a different type of hashes are actually used in different type of currencies, right? Bitcoin actually uses SHA-256, base64, a lot of them. It's not just one hash that is being used, it's a lot of them. SHA-256 is just for an example so that you guys understand, right? Anirudh, it's actually an algorithm converted. Okay, so all right, somebody actually did answer for me. That is good. Great. So what two datas are same? Okay, so when two datas are same hash will be generated. So if I have hello world here, you can see it's the same hash. When datas are same, hashes will be same. If I do this, the hash will be different. So if I change something in the data, the hash will be different, right? All right. So I believe a lot of yes are here. I believe that I have been clarified, right? Everything good? Yes or no, please. Right now, what I believe is a lot of you guys are sleeping or something. Am I clear? Okay. Might have to, yes. Great. Great response, guys. Great response. So, let me proceed ahead with the presentation. So I believe that now we all know what exactly a blockchain is, right? And what we can do is we can maybe discuss some of the uses that are around blockchain. Now, this is the important part. This will actually show you like how much uh, has how much potential do the blockchain actually has, right? So maybe Muskan, would you like to cover usage or hi Muskan? Yeah, sure, great.
Maybe I can cover some of them.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
I'll take.
So basically, like a DeFi is like a first application of blockchain that is like decentralized finance. So like what I mean by decentralized finance here is that like all the protocols like lending and then borrowing, like all the finance related applications. So you must be aware of them right now. Like what's happening with DeFi is that like we are decentralizing this application. There's no centralized server which is handling all your transactions, which is handling everything. It's a decentralized database. It's a nodes which are handling all of your money. Just to give you some examples over here, I think you must look into this website called DeFi Pulse.
I think I have it opened here. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a basically a index wherein like you can find all the DeFi platforms which exist on the space right now. And we can start with Aave. It's a lending and borrowing platform. It's multi-chain. By multi-chain, it means that it's deployed on multiple chains. It's on Ethereum, and recently they deployed on Polygon as well. And the TVL, which is logged around, it is 15 billion. So basically, 15 billion is the amount which is logged inside the Aave smart contracts. So how to use Aave is that simply you could like, if you have some like USDT or any other like crypto asset, you could simply like deposit it, and then out of that you will earn some interest for that asset. It's the same model that which bank follows, that you give them some money and then you get some interest out of it, but it's completely decentralized. There's no single person who is handling all of money. There's no one database which is handling all of your money. It's a smart contract. It's a code which is handling all your money. So it's then there's Curve Finance, there's InstaDApp, there's Compound. So all of these DeFi applications are basically we call them like money Legos. Basically, they are the entire finance, entire fintech industry moving towards decentralization. So these are like all sorts of applications created in DeFi. Vinayak, I think you can share the link for DeFi Pulse in the chat if they
Yeah,
want to have a look.
sure, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And next is I think NFT. So NFT is basically a non-fungible token. What I mean by non-fungible here is that all the assets, like all the cryptocurrencies you guys are seeing, like Ethereum and then a DAI and then USDT, so they all are fungible assets. Like one USDT is similar to another USDT, right? But if you talk about the non-fungible, so one asset is not similar to another asset. Basically, just take example of your normal like anything like which you use in your daily life. That one product cannot be similar to another product, right? It's a non-fungible asset. Every product has its own value, so it's a non-fungible token. And NFT industry is in a boom right now, like NFT gaming industry, like lot of gaming NFT applications are there in the market. A lot of I don't know, like if you are like, yeah, Jack Dorsey tweet, I've seen that. Like that tweet was minted on Polygon as well. I think he used one of the application called Send to mint his tweet. So basically he had a tweet and he minted his tweet. Now his tweet is an NFT. Now you cannot change it, you cannot delete it. It's there. Like it's an NFT. Like a tweet can also be converted into an NFT, or any of your art. If you are like if you're like having in a digital art or something, you could like mint it and sell it to people, and that's an NFT. People's digital art. I think it was sold around like some in millions. I don't even remember the price. So so it's like millions of applications out there in the NFT industry. Art is just one example of it. There's like a metaverse. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. There's a metaverse called Decentraland. I'll definitely like suggest you to check that out. Vinayak, if you want to just show them, I think they'll definitely like it. So basically, it's a metaverse, and wherein
Decentraland, right?
yes, Decentraland, wherein you could go, you can have some of the assets there. There's a place. Even we have a building of Polygon there, and if you enter that building, there'll be a lot of like arts there. So there's like a lot of casino games being built on blockchain. In Decentraland, and even in Decentraland, there are some casinos. Even I have been there multiple times, just chilling and hanging a bit. So it's really great. So industry, it's like it's like a lot of applications are there in industry today. Like I don't know if you've heard about it. Multiple use cases of DeFi, multiple use cases of NFTs. Art is just one use case for that. Like there's this metaverse, and there's gaming industry, like, which is booming. Now if you talk about the gaming industry, like so like in web2 world also, I think like you all are in college, you must be playing like a lot of games, but I'm not sure if you are earning after playing those games, right? Like if you are earning out of it. But if you talk about the web3 gaming industry, there are a lot of games out there. If you play that games, you will earn some money out of it. I think there's one game called Z Run, and there's this like actually a lot of use cases. There's a one platform called Polymarket, that's a betting platform, though it's illegal, but yeah, that's you can like just bet something on that, and then also you could like earn some money. There's a platform called Polymarket for that. So like multiple use cases are there. And then definitely like one next use case is a supply chain. um, Basically that's to track. If I talk about like there's a some like manufacturing industry, and that product is traveled from the manufacturing to a person which is like getting that product. So there's a multiple stages which that product has to cross, right? So basically there's no mechanism to track that. So basically one use case of blockchain is definitely supply chain. Maybe when I could cover more about that, because I am not much into enterprise side of blockchain. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, in supply chain, mostly, I believe that Luxo is actually doing that. I've been, following Luxo about it. So it's actually doing great work there. And, it's actually supply chain, the things with supply chain is that it's actually quite messy. So bringing something like that on a blockchain would actually enhance the supply chain and logistics in itself, because it will actually provide a way to manage all that supply chain and logistics systems, so which are not really that clear. Because if the supply chain maybe if it is public and everybody, if not really everybody, if the system in itself can actually see that how a supply chain is actually working, then the efficiencies that are there, if it is right now at 50% efficiency, it could be increased to 75 and 80% efficiency. So that is a lot for when it comes to supply chain and logistics, and the use cases there, right? So I believe that right now, because these use cases are in itself are ecosystem as to the whole blockchain system, right? So you can see that we have gaming here, we have NFT here, we have digital art here that is actually being sold, right? And even I believe that look at the prices that are there. If one ETH is right now more than it's roughly $3,000, I believe, right? So it's a lot that is actually being sold, right? So a lot of use cases, but at the same time, it's actually building an ecosystem for itself, right? Which is important, and an ecosystem which actually needs developers. Now that is the major point here, right? And because right now all of these stuff has actually been built by some of them are, but I believe some of them are actually your alumni as well, right? So some of them that I've met are your alumni that are in this space, right? And maybe you might be connected with them, maybe you might not be, right? But if they see future in this, and if they have done brilliant work when it comes to blockchain development, what I believe is that you have a head start today as to go ahead and start learning about a lot of about blockchain in itself, start deploying something something meaningful on maybe on Ethereum chain, or maybe any other chain, or maybe Polygon for that matter, right? And but what will matter more is you need to go ahead and deploy something and see as to what exactly could be done. I'll definitely show you guys that part, right? Right now, like what exactly is Ethereum, but we what we call Ethereum is actually a programmable chain. But I've told you before that we can actually deploy code on a blockchain, right? So how is that, how is it actually possible? Now you won't really go ahead and create a blockchain, right now. Like let me clear that as well. You won't go ahead and create a blockchain in itself, because creating a blockchain is the toughest part that there is. You need people that can actually mine it, work for it, or maybe stake it, and then run your chains. So that is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of networking, and a huge effort for that matter, right? But what you can do is you can create applications on chains like Ethereum, Polygon, and all, right? So you can, what you can do is you can create dApps, decentralized applications on these blockchains which are programmable. Ethereum is a chain that is programmable, right? So you can go ahead, deploy some code on it, right, and create applications around it. So this is what all of those protocols were about, right? So what they've done is they have gone ahead, they have created their code to be deployed on Ethereum. Ethereum has, EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, which computes the code, right? And that is there on the chain. You input something to it, and then you get an output. How that code actually looks like. Now this is a simple smart contract. This is how it looks like. This is what is being deployed on the chain of Ethereum so that programs can function. Now, a lot of you might know Java, right? Just have a look at it. Now this is Solidity, right? Have a look at it. But you can see is that this is a contract written like this, right? Just imagine this being a Java class. The function is exactly similar, right? So if you can think of this simple storage as maybe a Java class, right? And this particular this is actually a variable that is there in the class, and this function is to set that variable and to get that variable. Now this is how data could be stored programmably inside the Ethereum chain. And then what you can do is you can call upon this data whenever necessary, and you can have different outputs for different datas through the same code itself. So this is how the whole blockchain ecosystem came into play, and the whole decentralized applications, they came into play, right? Because what you can do is you can then create code on the blockchain itself. Now that is really powerful. Now if anybody of you have actually built a website or maybe an application, they might understand that to manipulate the data you need code, right? You need code to manipulate the data, and this is what they provided. This is how they provided it, right? That's how applications came into picture. The dApps came into picture. So you don't need to anything, you don't really need to do anything much here. What you need to do is you need to go and you need to create a smart contract. It could be on any chain that you like, right? But I suggest is you can go ahead with Ethereum because it has been the oldest and has been the most reliable, and there are a lot of resources for Ethereum that you can get, right? Not even you can go ahead and maybe do the same for some other chains as well along with it, right? But go ahead and deploy one smart contract now, and it is quite easy. You just have to follow a set of documentations, and then you'll be able to deploy your first smart contract. And in just deploying that, you'll understand as to how a blockchain is functioning, how a blockchain like Ethereum is functioning. And this is something that you cannot do on Bitcoin, right? A Bitcoin, you can only store transactions. There is no nothing to actually compute for it, right? And of course, if Ethereum actually computes the whole code, it's not exactly that every time you compute it will come for free. It will actually take a fees of computation, because it's some node that is actually computing that code for you. It's actually working towards computing the code for you. So a fees is being incurred as to when you call upon a smart contract. So that fees is actually what we call it gas fees. So this is what we term, right? So with this, what we can do is we can maybe discuss some limitations around it. If you do not have some questions by now, let me see if we have some questions. Guys, if I maybe because the chat is way too long right now, so if I forget some questions, you can post it again, right? And then we can maybe jump on to some of the limitations that there are in Ethereum space and how. Okay. So what I'll do is, what we'll do is we can actually take questions in the end now, right? Because we have very limited time left with us, and we have to yet to cover limitations, right? And what I believe is people are chatting with themselves and enjoying that right now in the chat box. So what we'll do is we'll try to segregate that at a later stage, sure. And when it comes to limitations, I guess before that, what we can do is we can clarify some stuff about Web 2 and Web 3, right? These are the terms that you'll very, very frequently listen about. Web 2, what exactly is Web 2 and what exactly is Web 3. So there was Web 1 as well. Nobody here will ever hear about Web 1. So we'll cover it here. What you can say is in Web 1, the people who actually have created some websites, they might have seen some older websites. They might relate to Web 1 as something like a very shitty UI that was there, and you have to scroll through a lot of things, and then the UI used to be very very basic. So there was no cloud infrastructure by then. So that's why most of the things that were built was on HTML, CSS, and stuff, right? Like that. Right now we have JS frameworks, right? We have React JS, we have Node JS, we have Angular JS, and we have again a whole cloud driven computing where you can go ahead now, maybe on GCP, maybe on AWS. You can buy some servers and then build your stuff on the cloud, which are very very powerful. That was Web 2. Right now on Web 3, what we are doing on Web 3 is we're creating a decentralized system of storage, not a centralized system of storage. Right? So decentralization of data came into picture in Web 3. This is the only difference when it comes to Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, right? And you can see, the graph it's actually like that. If you see the market values of all of these, it is actually like that. So what I believe is, you guys definitely should not really be here. You guys should be here, right? And cashing in on the really really great journey of Web3 that is actually going on right now, right? As developers, as coders, it's a privilege right now, because there is a huge space available for the same, right? Uh, Actually, it's not just for developers. It's actually for if what I believe is there are a lot of traders as well right now amongst us, right, that are here in this lecture, and they are interested to know more about cryptocurrencies as such, right? There are, because I've seen the submissions, right? A lot of people are actually interested in trading stuff, as well as in learning about how to actually make money out of cryptocurrencies. Now you can only do that if you understand what exactly is a cryptocurrency, right? So these basics will clear the air about, I believe they must have cleared the air about what exactly are the whole, the whole ecosystem around the blockchain, and as well as the terminologies that associated. So now you can go ahead and maybe read some of the white papers that there are, right, about the cryptocurrencies, and then if you are an investor, or maybe if you are an interested investor about something, so you can go ahead and do all that stuff, right? Or you can definitely come to FinStreet as well. We provide knowledge there, as well as even we have gone as far as to create a trainer for trading as well. Now, right now it is in a beta stage and it's on Play Store, but you can definitely go ahead, check it out, right? Links will be posted via my team in the chat, or it could be sent to you as well. So anybody interested can go towards it. It's all for knowledge purpose, where you can actually trade something like, you can actually trade virtually as well. You don't have to pay and then trade to actually learn as to how trading actually happens on the blockchain itself. So it is not really that the experience would be very very similar as to where you can learn about trading and do stuff about that. We are in a beta stage. Definitely eventually will come forward as a lot more stuff has to be done now in the education space only, where when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, we're trying our level best to do that, right? So coming on to the lecture again, let's discuss some of the limitations that there are. Muskan, I believe you are the best person for limitations. Polygon in itself is the most reputed project that there is in India right now, right? And has been headed by Indian people itself, right? And they are doing a lot, wonderful job when it comes to, catering to the limitations that Ethereum network has, right? And they have, recently I believe that they have had a merger as well with again, a very good company. So they are on a rise for sure, and this is because of their experience, and this is because of the, what the products that they have actually built, right? So Muskan, over to you. I
Yeah.
believe you are the best person for the job here. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. So basically, I'll talk about the limitations here. Though like Ethereum is the best, though I am like a pro Ethereum maximalist, but so Ethereum is the best thing because like all the revolution we are talking about Web3, or we're talking about Ethereum here, all the Web3 revolution, I believe has been started by Ethereum itself. We're talking about dApps, we're talking about, so basically it is providing us a developer framework to build dApps upon, right? But if I discuss about the limitations, so if we are trying to, if you're talking about the revolution here, we are talking about decentralization here. We are thinking that we'll bring the entire centralized things to a decentralized server. So there are a certain set of limitations which are like hindering us from scaling our applications, from scaling our dapps. So giving you an example here, just let us think about let's think about a gaming application. So I think you guys play a lot of games. So now just suppose that for one gaming application to do a one transaction on that, to just to play something, suppose that if you have to pay some $30-40, you'll definitely not play that game, right? So basically, so these are some like limitations of Ethereum: high gas fees and low scalability. I can see in the chat that like the people are talking about Ethereum 2.0. Yes, Ethereum 2.0 will be launched pretty soon, but still we cannot target with, even with Ethereum 2.0, we cannot target that, even though it will take a lot of time still. But even with 2.0, we cannot target that gas fees. We cannot have that click 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 experience of Web2, which we are used to. We are using Twitter, we are using Instagram. Just suppose that like just to like one tweet, if you have to pay some $10, you'll definitely not use that Twitter application, right? So you'll definitely have to think about the user experience. So that's why this layer 2, these scaling applications come into the scene. So Polygon, which was Matic network earlier, we founded in 2017. We were a scaling a layer 2 application, which was a POS plus Plasma hybrid approach. I'll not go into the details into that, but I'll definitely like recommend some resources to you to read more about the POS and Plasma hybrid approach. And so basically, it's a layer 2 scaling solution. If I talk about the gas fees, I would say the gas fees for one transaction is around $0.00004. It's negligible fees. So now you're talking about the decentralization. You are experiencing that Web3, but in a really less gas fees. So you are able to experience that Web2 kind of a user experience. So that's why these scaling solutions came into like scene, that all right, like we need to scale Ethereum. So we started with a POS, then there's Plasma solution, and then like coming down the lane, these 3 years, we have seen multiple scaling solutions like there's ZK rollups, there's optimistic rollups, there are like others as well. Even like in future, there might be a different like more scaling solutions. So during our journey, we realized that all right, like there are like a lot of scaling solutions. There are multiple approaches to scale your application, but there's like no one stop shop for all scaling solutions out there. As a developer, you cannot find everything on one platform. As a developer, you need to figure out like which scaling solution to choose, and then you need to like learn different techniques, right? So that's why now with I think last year Matic has been rebranded to Polygon, and now Polygon is a I would say a well structured scaling platform. Whether it's ZK rollups, whether it's optimistic rollups, whether it's like any other standalone chain, you'll be able to find everything on one platform. I think yesterday only we announced this integration with Hermes network, and that's a ZK side approach of things. So now we are like working on ZK side. We have launched the solution called Polygon Avail. We have launched Polygon SDK. So like lot of like developments are okay. I got something. Polygon got hacked recently. Okay, so it was Poly Network. So Poly Network is one application which is built on top of Ethereum. It's one dApp, and that is built on BSC, that is deployed on Ethereum, and that is deployed on Polygon as well. And that got hacked. It was not Polygon. Polygon is an infrastructure. It's not a one dApp. If I talk about the numbers here, as of now, there are like 500 applications, 500 dApps which are deployed on Polygon. There are like some gaming dApps, DeFi dApps, betting dApps, all kind of dApps are deployed on Polygon. There are like more than 500 plus applications. Poly Network is one of them, and that's a multi-chain dApp. So yeah, just to clear that. Yeah, I think I have covered about Polygon. I'll not go into the details here, but I'll definitely like recommend you to learn more about scaling, to learn more about Ethereum, and about the development thing now. So we like usually say internally that if you are a Ethereum developer, you're already a Polygon developer. because like all the tools and functionalities like which are compatible with Ethereum, they are compatible with Polygon as well. Now if you're like deploying any application on Ethereum, you just need to change one RPC in your truffle in a config file, and your application can be deployed similarly on Polygon as well. The only thing here is that if you go and deploy your application on Ethereum mainnet, it would cost you around, I don't know, like I think some $500-$600, and as a student it'll be really difficult to bear that cost, right? But if you are using a Polygon to deploy your application, it'll definitely like cost you around some $1-2, nothing much than that. So that's why all these dApps are moving towards Polygon, because they want to target like much larger audience or larger users. Now to have like more users to your applications, you need to provide them use that user experience to them, right? So that's why like lot of dApps are moving on Polygon, and then they just to like target, like invite like more people. So like we use this hashtag called Web3 for all, hashtag DeFi for all. That's our hashtag we usually use, because it's like we are providing this Web3 to all. It's like it's accessible for all. You don't have to be really rich to experience Web3. It's you could like start using. Even I would suggest that if you're a little like interested into DeFi and then finance, you should definitely check some applications like you should definitely check some Aave or any other kind of application and put some money into it and then get some returns. You'll definitely feel good. I think you can like bear your party's cost definitely using DeFi applications. So start using some DeFi application. And if you are an artist, if you are a designer, I think you must be creating like a lot of designs. Just start to like mint those designs on like OpenSea, like marketplace, and then try to sell your arts. And I don't know, like one of my friend, I think he like randomly created some art, and I think some days before that art was sold around 100 ETH. So like even we were shocked. Oh my God! Like even he was like, what to do with this money? Because you never know, like, because it's like arts are all about like sentiments. Like people, if they relate to your art, they'll buy it. Like they'll buy it for 200 ETH, 300 ETH. You never know. So just like start experiencing some things. It's a revolution. When internet was there, we all were not there. But it's a Web3 revolution. It's a third layer of revolution. So you definitely should be a part of it. And IIT Bombay, like I think the brightest mind of India. So a lot of expectations from you guys. So yeah. Okay, I think there's next slide also. I think I have to cover about the, if I remember, yeah, how to get started. Yeah. So I have a really good repo for you guys to start with. It's called Scaffold ETH. So one of the I don't know if you know about him. His name is Austin Griffin. He's like one of the brightest mind of Ethereum Foundation, and he has this repo called Scaffold ETH. So basically, it's a repository where in like all the dApps applications are already there. You need to go there, just fork this and try to like play around some dApps, just try to understand like what this application really does. So it's a really great resource. I would say like this is the best resource to start your Web3 journey with if you're coming from a Web2 background. And apart from that, once you have some Ethereum understanding, and then you think, all right, like now it's my next stage to understand the scaling solutions. Now I want to start my journey with Polygon. Then I would definitely suggest you to check our documentation, and all the links are there in this link I've pinged in the chat. You could start with that. And I believe like I've been talking to developers like every day, and even I have like heard a lot of them. I think most of them have started their journey through hackathons. They just like they are like participating in a lot of hackathons, and then they're trying to build something. They are just thinking about the idea which already exists in the Web2 and trying to build that idea in Web3 space. Now that's a great way to start your journey in Web3. Start like first I would like just suggest you to like start like read this, like go through this repo first, and then just start something reading about it, and then participate in one hackathon. That will be a great point to start with things. And I don't know like if IIT Bombay has some blockchain club or something, I'm not sure. But if you don't have it, if you have any technical club or something, I would definitely suggest you to start one blockchain club, do some meetups, uh, uh, meet every day, discuss what's happening within blockchain industry, like what are the new things happening there. All of you should come together and try to make, just start with making one dApp together, I would suggest. That will definitely help you. Even like I've been talking to like a lot of colleges, like even I would say tier 3 colleges has much more blockchain participation. I don't know why tier 1 and tier 2 I rarely see less participation. If I like go to any like tier 3 college, like I even I don't know if you know about DAOs. Basically it's a future of work, we call it DAOs. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. So I am part of like a lot of DAOs, and I see a lot of Indians there. I think in even some days before, I was talking to one student, and then he was from some tier 3 college, and I was thinking him to be really a senior guy. I was like surprised by his knowledge of Ethereum space, and he was from some really like tier 3 university. I don't know why, but I am not seeing like much students like from IITs, and I am like really shocked to see that number. Because if you're talking about the technology, or if you're talking about the Web3 revolution, the participation from like IIT should be the on top-notch participation. But I'm not seeing that. I'm really surprised. I'm like sad as well. So you should definitely like start your journey, start learning around some things, try to take part in hackathons. So this is something. See, like there'll be like a lot of Android developers. There'll be like a lot of normal web developers. There'll not be like coders, like but it's like it's like this is the new space now. Now it's your decision that you have to grab that opportunity or not. Now you need to you need to like start learning about these things or not. That's your like a decision, but I would like definitely recommend that you should definitely start your journey, and then like be try to be a part of this space. Even I would like suggest you to check Gitcoin. So it's a platform like GitHub. It's a decentralized GitHub, I would say. So there are like a lot of bounties out there. You should like start working on some bounties. And I don't know, like I have seen like even for one simple bounty, like Gitcoin is like some companies are trying to pay, like they pay around like $2,000 for simple bounties. I don't know if you're like able to earn that much money using some something in Web2. So definitely like you should definitely like check some bounties on Gitcoin, do participate in hackathons, learn about smart contracts, learn about like how to build a simple dApp on Polygon. There's this dApp University. I think his is like videos are really great. Even I have like seen them a lot. You should definitely check dApp University as well. Like a lot of other resources as well. I think you'll when you will like search on Google, you'll find a lot of resources. You should have enough motivation to start with. That's the only thing I think that is required from your end. But like one last thing, if you are already, I don't know, like many, if some of you are already working on some dApps, if you have some ideas, but if you have, if you are like need some more motivation and then some funds as well, we have a developer support program. Just ping me on. I'll share my Twitter ID here. Just ping me on Twitter. Would like really like to help you out. And also we are like thinking to start some university ambassador program as well. So if you want to be a Polygon ambassador, just reach out to me. If you have any like technical club and then you want to do some engagements there, just reach out to me. We can definitely like engage you guys. Even I would like I'm forgetting the name of one university that's also a tier 3 university. These guys have launched one token for their university, so that they could use that token to pay I think in your colleges you do like tech fest and like a lot of fest in their college, in the colleges, right? So basically they're using that token to pay to the contributors. Like if you are organizing a tech fest, you're part of that organizing team, right? So basically now and that's when I don't think like even in my college I used to organize and I didn't get any money for that. I was just doing it on a voluntary basis because that was my college. So but now what's happening is like I'm forgetting the name of the university. So they have launched their own token, and now they're using that token to pay to the contributors, which are helping establishing blockchain community in their college and organizing some fest there in their college. And I had a call with them a few days back. So think around these ideas. Think about I don't know if you so that's basically a social token. That's also one use case of blockchain. Learn about social tokens, learn about DAOs, learn about NFTs, learn about DeFi, and then you will find like one thing which really interests you. And you don't even need to be a developer. I am not a developer. I have done it, but I don't know. I don't know, like when I like last did some coding, I don't know. But it's is that like you will find some interest in this space. Like personally, about talking about me, I'm really interested in DAOs because I really care about people and communities. That's something which interests me. That's why I am like into DAOs a bit. Some of you must be like little like artistic kind of people. You'll definitely find some interest in NFTs, and some of you might be really money-minded people. Money matters to you a lot. Then you will definitely find some interest in DeFi. So just like find your interest, and you will definitely I can recommend, like once you are in Web3, you can never go back. You can never go back to like any other technology or any other space. You will like definitely like love it. So just start your journey, learn more about it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you want to be a Polygon college ambassador, reach out to me. Any other DApp you have, any other idea you need to like work on it, you can definitely reach out to me. I'll definitely help you out. So yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. I
So
feel
can we
like
move on to questions now?
yeah,
Definitely.
Okay.
yeah.
So there were some questions in the chat which were missed out. So the first question is that if encryption is fixed for a particular algorithm like SHA-256, can't we de-encrypt to get input and hashes of previous blocks and so on?
Could you repeat, Sarthak? Uh, is it
Yeah,
possible that you can maybe send it again in the chat?
yeah, I'll just send it again.
Sure. Actually, the chat is huge, really huge. All right. So guys, we'll try to cater to as many questions as possible, right? And we'll take it from here. Like we'll try as many questions we can, right? I hope that everybody here doesn't really want to go that early, and everybody wants to clear their questions. So we'll be here.
Vinayak, sorry to interrupt. Actually,
Sorry.
I have a really important call at 7. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So sure, then maybe I can take the questions then, right? And
yeah.
if there are some questions regarding Polygon itself, but I'll ask them just to connect with you, right?
Yeah, definitely. I
How
think
about
I've
that?
shared my Twitter.
Yeah,
I'll do it again. You can
sure.
reach out to me on Twitter. Yeah, I'll do that.
Sure,
All right.
Also,
definitely.
if
Thanks.
everyone can fill the feedback form given in the chat.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, guys, one thing that we need to do is like just stay connected, right? As much as possible. We have already shared a lot of links with you. Muskan has shared, even her Twitter ID with you and given so much support to you guys, right? So whatever it is, whenever you feel like, just connect with them, and if even you have some questions or want to do something, you guys can go ahead and do that, right? Let's move on to the questions. If encryption is fixed for a particular algo like SHA-256, can we decrypt to get the input and hashes of the previous blocks and so on? We can de-encrypt, yes, right? And but it would need a lot of computing power to de-encrypt a hash. If we know that the hash is 256, yes, then will still need a lot of computing power to de-encrypt. But the system will have to do is they'll have to go through a lot of text, right? And they'll have to. This is generally a hit and trial method as to how we. If you have a password, right? If you are going to maybe decrypt a password, how would you do that? The basic method as to crack a password is to maybe it's actually a hit and trial method to crack a password because of the encryption that there is. You have to check for all the strings that there are, right? All the comparable strings that there are, all the potential strings that there are, and then you'll have to get the hash. It is only one way. Again, it's not two way. You cannot really take the hash and get the data out of it, right? I believe I've answered that, that if we can de-encrypt to get the input or not, right? And hashes of, right. So are there more questions? Can we have more?
Yeah.
Go ahead. So all right.
I've posted
If
the next
every
question in the chat.
sure. Manipulation requires more than 50%, 51% computing power. Correct. Right. Very well said statement. How this actually happens is that, let me elaborate on it so that everybody can understand this as well. Right. So how this actually happens is that 51 in the network, if the computing power, somebody has 51% of the computing power, what they can then do is they can go back, change all the blocks, change the transactions in it, and the blocks next to it, they can mine it as well, because they have 51% computing power. 51% by 51%, because then they have majority of it. Even if the computing power lies like 50% here, 50% there, even then the chain will not come to a consensus. Now that this is again a next thing that we can discuss about some other day. Consensus and the methods of consensus, it's more like that one node has to come in consensus with the other node, that yeah, this particular chain is correct, this particular block is correct, right? So if somebody has the power of 51%, what they can do is they can actually go ahead, change the transaction, and then, because obviously, whenever a voting will happen, the 51% the power, the person with 51% computing power will win in that vote, right? So this is how consensus happens in chains, right? So right now this is something that has not been covered here, thinking about that this might be a bit more, right? And can an existing app be directly shifted on a blockchain? Not directly. Like if it is a web 2.0 application, you can go ahead and deploy it on web 3.0. There are some tweaks that you'll have to do. You will have to go to go through the web 3.0 module. Like if you are well aware with Node, maybe if your backend is in Node.js, then you'll have to go towards web3 package, web3 npm package, and then you'll have to make sure that the database that you're connected to is now connected to the blockchain itself. That is the only change that you'll have to do when you are to move from web 2.0 to web 3.0. Or if you want to move a website to maybe a database that has blockchain on it, or an application that the database that is actually included. Whenever we'll talk about blockchain, we'll talk about database, right? So yes, an existing app can be shifted to a blockchain, but then again, every call to a blockchain will require money, so will require fees, because nothing on blockchain is for free. Or you can get data for free, but if you are to set data, then that will take some amount, definitely. So I believe, Sarthak, I believe I've okay, I might have answered it correctly. If it is yes, please give a thumbs up as well. If you have another questions coming forward, just speak it out so that we can clear it. Thoughts on Solana as it claims to solve the blockchain trilemma? Well, I don't have much thoughts right now. I've not been through it, right? So definitely. Can you tell some DeFi based dApps? Now this is a place that you need to be if you want some DeFi based dApps. Just a sec. DeFi Pulse. These are all, Muskan actually shared DeFi Pulse along with you guys. If you see here, one thing that I wanted to mention was, if you see here, the chain is Ethereum, right? There is one Polygon though, and there are some multi-chain as well. But the chain, a lot of chain is actually in Ethereum. So let me share this link with you so that you can actually see that these are all DeFi dApps. These are all DeFi dApps. Uniswap is actually a DEX. DEX. Some of you might know Zerodha or maybe Angel Broking or something like that. Some of you might be familiar with trading in stock markets, right? Uniswap, what Uniswap has done is Uniswap, or for that matter, Curve Finance. What they have done is they have created a decentralized system for an exchange in itself. Think about this, right? Uniswap, they came with the mechanism as to alter the prices via a decentralized method, and the market making was also decentralized again, right? So think about a system of exchange where you don't need NSC or BSC to make sure the prices are fluctuated in a way that it does. all those prices and all those fluctuations on Uniswap is actually happening in a decentralized manner. Nobody is in a control of that. Obviously, if you have a lot of money, then you can control it, because then you can maybe buy or sell in a pool, and then the pool could be decreased or increased, right? And then you can definitely alter the prices of the pool. But then again, you'll need money to do that, and some traders actually use some strategies around it, right? But then again, think about a system where you don't really need NSE and BSC, and everything is decentralized. That is Uniswap for you. These are all dApps. So these are lending dApps, decentralized applications where you can go and have a look at it, right? Okay. Can you please elaborate on Bounty? What do you really want me to elaborate on Bounty? Like, how rewarding is it? It is rewarding for sure. Like, when if you participate on hackathons, it's actually really really rewarding. Uh, in two ways actually. You get the bounty, and you get that application that you were building. So that application will now have a lot of people, a lot of eyes on it as well, because that particular application has won a bounty in a hackathon. You can actually create a business out of it as well. So, like, how much I can elaborate on bounty is very less right now, because you might have to have another half hour session, half hour session for just to elaborate on bounty, how rewarding it could be, right? Uh, and okay, I hope that is done. Okay, is Dogecoin actually a token or a cryptocurrency, right? So Dogecoin, actually, Doge has a chain in itself, right? So it has a blockchain, so it's not really, I believe it's not really a token, Dogecoin. But at the same time, this Dogecoin has had a lot of popularity, right? When it comes to the space, because of one of the key factors is Elon Musk. If everybody follows Elon Musk here, all of them are tech guys. I believe a lot of you guys might actually follow Elon Musk. So Dogecoin has actually had a popularity from there. The thing is that, but we need to see is the fundamentals of a coin, right? As to how good it could be, right? Whenever we judge a particular coin. So what I'll suggest you is that go ahead and have some learnings about Dogecoin, as to like what all are the things that Dogecoin actually provides, right? And what are the fundamentals of Dogecoin, and how exactly is it different from Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? Suggest what to choose between Ethereum and Hyperledger as a beginner, and why. I'll suggest Ethereum to go ahead with, because one of the major reasons that I'll always choose Ethereum over any other chain is for that matter, because you have to start from somewhere, and Ethereum is the one that has been the oldest. So if you go and if you have any problems, right, if you have any doubts, if you have bugs, so the most probable case is that some other person might also have had that. So you need those bugs resolved, right? So what you can do is you can always Google and resolve the bugs for Ethereum, right? In today's era, yeah. When even when I started some years back, this was not the case. So you have to go through the documentation itself, as well as the functions itself, as to understand like what could be there and what could not be there, right? Yeah. So this is more about that. And like for people that are actually interested in cryptocurrencies as such, right? As to what exactly is a token, what exactly is a coin, right? And how they differ mostly, and to learn about a lot of currencies, definitely visit FinStreet, right? We have courses there as well to educate people about how to start investing in cryptocurrencies. If any one of you guys is actually if it's they are actually looking forward towards maybe learning about cryptocurrencies and learning as to how to invest in it like properly, right? We have had a lot of good responses about these courses that we have, right? Because of a very similar reason that a lot of people are actually not providing knowledge as to how to step into blockchain, or how to even step into trading, or how to even but exactly is a blockchain space. So that's why we have taken this initiative as uh, to go to developers of your age that can actually understand us, right? And to urge you guys to have a space here to at least have a look on what exactly is this space, and how growing is this space, and if it is for you or if it is not for you, right? But I believe is it's definitely for you, because you guys are the smartest minds that is there here, right? And as Muskan has already told, that not a lot of IITians are actually visible in this space. There could be reasons for that, yes, that are unknown at the moment, but what we want to do is we want to change that, right? But what I believe is that all of you guys are more than capable to get started. And right, so this is, do we have any other questions maybe,
No,
Sarthak?
I don't think so. There are any other
Okay,
questions.
okay, great. It was really really great. Okay, where are the documentaries about dApps and the documentaries, right? uh, what I believe is there are not so many. So right now, this space, as I've told you, that it is actually growing. So I have there was one though about OneCoin that I was prominent about. Like, that is a documentary to watch. If you can, I think this is on YouTube itself. So have a look at OneCoin if you are interested about documentaries about it. But OneCoin is not really in a positive sense about either dApps or ETH. It's actually on how people have actually used this space and created money out of it, but not that not in a positive way, but in a negative way, right? OneCoin, you can read about it, but then again, when when we are telling about the positives of all those things, you should know about some of the negatives that the people are doing, right? It's not the space in itself that is negative, it's the people who are, right, or the people who are leading it are, right? So you can have a documentary about OneCoin, or there is no such documentary about Ethereum as such. But I believe is, maybe this is a good idea though. Maybe you could be the one to go ahead and create something like that. How about that? If you are a good video person, maybe there could be a lot of people here uh, that are good in video creation, right? Go ahead, create some documentaries about this stuff, and on the way you learn a lot about blockchain in itself. So this is a very good way to even learn about it, if you guys if some of you are interested in that, because this space is very very new. You can do a lot of things with this space. So what I'll urge you is, if you are good in anything, just go ahead, do that, right, in the blockchain space, and then learn about it along with it. So this is how you develop interests, right? Pump and dump schemes, again, pump and dump schemes are mostly like, this is something that are self explanatory. These are people that does that, right? So again, pump and dump schemes, how you can find some similar things on OneCoin as well. OneCoin was something very very different actually. That actually emphasized on how you actually do not really have uh, you can say knowledge on that topic, so that you can and then a lot of investors were actually put forth into a scam. So this was about one, but there are not many positive documentaries available. Now this, as I think about it, definitely you could be the one to create it, right? But because yeah, this is why a lot of people are actually looking forward to step into it, but are not able to, right? Because there are not much things available. They move. Now I am not going to comment on it, all right? If they sound more like pump and dip, is it true? I'm not going to comment on it. What I'll suggest is that it is for you to for you to gauge. Okay, okay, there is somebody that says no. All right, I'll suggest that it is on you guys to discuss about it, think about it. I won't really comment on it. Okay, so I believe we are good. Are we good? Is there any other question that we have here? It was really really great connecting with you guys. Just stay connected with us, that is what will matter. Ask questions, we'll come back, and maybe we'll definitely answer it. We'll try to cater to all the doubts that you guys have, and as well as connect you to the people that could really help you, right? If we can't, somebody else could, and we are connected, we can do that for you, right? And my team will share all the resources that there are, right? And you can definitely go through all of them, right? Even we'll share the links for the Crypto Trainer app. If anybody is interested in maybe trading, right, they can definitely step onto it. It's in beta stage. It will be stable next week, right? But definitely you can go ahead, check it out, and stay there. Stay with us. That would be really, really amazing if you guys are actually developing, right? And looking forward. Thank you so much. Thank you. Looking forward to maybe see some of you guys forward in this industry and meet you definitely, right? Thank you so much for having us here. Okay, by the way, gain more knowledge in crypto. Okay, great. Yeah, yeah, those e-certificates will be provided by the end of this session for sure, right? And thank you everybody for having us here. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you for
Thank you
being
for
so.
such a great session.
Thank you.